Okay. So we'll kick off. I think I sent an agenda out yesterday that I tagged onto this meeting invite in your diary. So hopefully everybody's picked that up. I'll share it in a minute once I can. I had a few apologies come through. Ryan Hodgson from the police, he's a community connection. Daniel Ashford from Talking Therapies, Ella from ABL, Lynn Schuller, Health and Wellbeing Rep on the council, sent her apologies, but hoping that Harriet Digby is possibly going to join us in place of Lynn, and then Helen Azar had sent her apologies as well. So there's probably a few more, but that's what I'd currently got on my list. Do you want me to share the agenda, or has everybody managed to grab sight of it? Have you got a copy, Steve? More to the point, because I'm going to hand over to you and make you in charge. So lovely. Okay, we'll kick off. I will hand over to you then, Steve, and let you kick off.
Thanks, Becky. So I thought it'd be helpful just to sort of recap on where we were after the summit that we held back in June, or the back of June. Seems a long time ago now. Those of you who were at that summit will know that Chris and Karen gave quite a powerful sort of overview from a citizen's advice perspective of the key issues that we were facing. And that essentially was sort of demonstrating that in many cases people had maxed out what financial resources they had dealing with the pressures of last autumn and winter. And therefore, many people were going into this autumn and winter with very little financial resilience. So it was only going to take a few sort of changes or increase in costs, etc., to place people in very difficult and dire circumstances. So we were mindful of that in terms of some of the actions arising from the summit that we'll sort of pick up during the course of the agenda. The first things that from a district council point of view we wanted to do was obviously utilise the summit as a sort of evaluating the work that had been done across many different organisations, many of whom are represented on this call, over the last autumn and winter, but more importantly, to use that learning and feedback as part of the preparation as best we can do for this autumn and winter, knowing that that was going to be potentially a very difficult time for some of the reasons that I've outlined. Organisational pressures, we know from the presentation that Andrea Birch gave from the BCVS how the voluntary and community sector is under considerable pressure itself with rising costs, the lack of volunteers, etc. So it was really how do we work together as we have done, and I fully believe that we have worked very well together at the place-based level within Bassetlaw to respond as a partnership as best we can to the pressures and issues facing us, because they don't fall within the remit of any one single organisation. Many of the sorts of issues that we see can manifest itself in many different formats, be it financial support, be it debt advice, be it mental health issues, etc. So following the summit, the District Council was able to identify a source of 160,000 of external funding that we made a bid for and were successful, and that has already been allocated. And the key areas that it has gone to support is citizens' advice, being able to hopefully recruit a number of additional caseworkers given the demand. Continued support to the food bank to enable them to continue with the community shop, etc. Warm packs, well, I know warm packs are on the agenda, so I won't discuss that in detail at this point. Warm spaces and then comms. So those were the key targets. I do know because a number of people here also on the Bassetlaw Financial Inclusion Forum, when we had our the last meeting of that group, all I think all agencies, be they voluntary, community or public sector, were reporting an uptake of anywhere in the region of up to a third in demand over the summer months, when traditionally that's when we see demand drop. So that was a bit of a sort of warning call, really, of some of the issues that we're facing. So hopefully that's an overview of from the summit. There are a number of people here who presented. I've mentioned Chris, obviously, Robert from the food bank, who gave presentations. I don't know if there's anything that they wanted to particularly add to that from their own perspective from the summit.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up really nicely, honestly, Steve. I think it's worth saying that since the summit a few months ago, the numbers we'd started to talk about have actually started to crystallize, particularly with what we're seeing. So with the numbers coming through, we're in about 10 to 15% higher than last year, which was already a record year. But it's the problems coming through which are giving us pause. It isn't necessarily the numbers this time, it's the severity of the problems that seem to be beating us around the head this time around. So to give it some context, sorry, I didn't expect you to throw there, Steve, but I do happen to have something up in my background anyway. But to give it some context, it's the big headline issues that we're starting to get particularly worried about. So these are national, these aren't local, but they are reflective of what we're seeing. It's the number of people who are presenting with homelessness issues that's rising. And again, this is during summer, and you can see from the trends that trends tend to get better, worse over the winter than the summer. So if we're already at a 10-year peak now, we're not sure how it's going to be in a few months' time. The other interesting one, or terrifying one, is prepayment meter top-ups. So I will try to zone in a little bit here so we can see a little bit better. You can see the typical summer trough, and you can see that reflected all the way through, although it's been magnified massively over the last few years. Our problem is that we're already starting to race upwards to a peak in September, whereas you look at the same time last year, it was far beneath. So to put that into context, it's 14% more people are coming to us. This was from August. 14% more people are having problems topping up their meter than last August, and that is 466% more than August 2021. So it's very difficult because we almost need to be weather forecasters here as well to work out what the problems are going to be this winter. We just know that right now in August, things are shaping up to be significantly more difficult than the year before. There was just one other I wanted to, it's interesting as well that we were talking about energy being the predominant issue, but I think we know that anecdotally there are two major expenses at the moment, both energy and now either rent or mortgage. And on the renting side of things, we're seeing a far higher number of people losing their property. And because of the way that assured short-term tenancies work at the moment, it's difficult to get the stats about exactly why that's happening. But we know that tenancies are far more insecure at this time. And once somebody has lost their private rented property in particular, it's incredibly difficult to get another one because of shortage of housing stock, the difficulty of getting a bond, particularly as monthly rent increase, and typically a bond is based on your monthly rent. So as monthly rent increases, the bond you need to scrabble together also increases. So losing your tenancy and trying to find another one is a big problem for people. The number of homelessness people we're seeing is going up, which is almost certainly related. And the number of people we're seeing who are coming to tell us already that they are unable to top up their prepayment meters is worryingly escalating, and that was as of August. So it's a difficult situation for the winter ahead when we're only at the moment, remembering these stats are in August, still looking at the summer stats. This is actually a public blog, so I'd be happy to pop that into the chat so people can have a look in more detail. I'm aware it's quite difficult when you're just throwing charts up on a page and people are probably squinting at them to look at the data. So let me pop that into the chat for people.
Thanks, Chris, and well prepared for my hospital pass there to you. Robert, is there
Yeah,
anything
thanks,
you
Steve.
want to sort of pick up from your from the summit and sort of your experiences now?
So our experiences are mirror of what's already been said, if I'm honest. The exception being the emergency food parcels. We didn't see a summer dip. We saw the summer saw it sort of flatline as the community shop and the fruit and veg box schemes have expanded. They've had a positive impact in the sense that especially around the villages and the data we've analysed, where the shop goes, we have seen a significant drop in the need for emergency food parcels because people were able to access the food in an affordable way. And obviously, with the expansion of the fruit and veg box scheme, that's still filtering through. Totally agree with the homeless situation, and that's a major concern for us. We have, and there'll be details coming up on our website in the next 4 weeks, sourced some emergency thermal pods. We've got a limited number. We just feel that there is certainly, and again, Chris, if you disagree, please say, but the younger renter, we are seeing more and more people under the age of 25 ending up homeless because they're getting difficulties covering their costs, and because they score low in risk assessments, they tend to sort of be at the bottom of many lists. So we will put details about these emergency thermal pods. Hopefully we'll never need to use them, but they are designed to provide a 12-degree core temperature difference for those outside when the weather gets in extreme. And I'll send a note to Becky once the website page is live, which gives details and a referral process on there as well. So yeah, no different in that sense. And the debt message in the last 4 to 5 weeks on the triage process, we are seeing the word debt and families who are working with debt becoming a bigger and bigger problem, which is no great shock to any of us and what we talked about in the summer, but those figures are starting to crystallize for us as well. Harvest Festival is upon us, so in terms of food bank stock, and Steve, is aware of this as well. We are now attempting to sort of fill up ready for the winter, so it's a key time for us to sort of crystallize those donations and squirrel them away, so we're sort of able to survive the right word? I don't know if it is the right word. Feels like survive sometimes, doesn't it? But to get through the winter period. So yeah, I think that meeting in the summer, Steve, although it does seem like a long time ago, it's really useful because it certainly crystallizes our thoughts and makes us think about what's coming. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that process will continue.
It's really interesting what you mentioned there. I'm not going to bore people with stats again for a second time, but just to take on exactly what you just said, couldn't agree more regarding the ages of people seeking support regarding homelessness. So our top age brackets are 25 to 44 by quite some stretch there, Rob.
Thank you for that. I think that's a very helpful overview and sort of crystallises some of the issues that I started to identify at that summit and moving forward. There is a roundup, so hopefully there's an opportunity towards the end of this agenda for all organisations really to sort of report on the issues that they are seeing, and also to identify any issues where we feel that further support is going to be needed, anything that we can start looking at now. It is somewhat ironic that the temperature is very warm outside at the moment in October, but I think the weather patterns are so unusual now that we just don't know what sort of variances we're going to see, which takes us neatly onto warm spaces. So across Bassetlaw, there were about 40 different warm spaces, warm hubs, various versions of the theme. And we there was a sort of evaluation of those that the council was helped support. There were many that just took place within a community that didn't ask for any support and just ran their own thing. So mainly, I think the key learning that came out was actually people didn't really use them as a space to get warm. They used them as a place for social interaction, and probably that sort of illustrates the issues that people on this call know far better than me about loneliness, etc., social isolation, particularly, well, not just in our rural communities, it's prevalent in the towns as well, but there was a real benefit that people were seeing from coming together from that. All those people who provided warm spaces, I believe, have been contacted through the BCVS to start the process to see who is likely to be looking to provide a similar facility moving forward, just so that we know there's quite a lot that was done through the BCVS website to promote where those locations were. I don't know if anybody wants to say particularly anything about warm spaces. Again, I know a number of you on this call have had practical experience of running warm spaces. Can't see anything. So that takes us on to warm packs. So very much the experience of warm spaces was, I think, probably, certainly I was quite naive about warm spaces entering into this and just assumed that, you know, elderly folk would willingly want to go to their nearest warm space and etc. And obviously it didn't work like that, because many elderly people didn't want to, understandably, leave their home. Particularly, again, I think a feature in some of our rural areas where it could be quite some distance to your nearest warm space and it's only open a couple of hours. You've got to get there, you've got to get back. So through the Bassett Law Action Centre, the warm packs were initiated, and just for people's information, the warm pack is a series of interventions that are provided. So it includes oil-filled radiators, thermal throw, flask, etc. And these are delivered to the person's property. They go through PAT testing, safety checks to make sure that the individuals know how to use it. But I think also importantly, they have a conversation while they are there with the recipient, build up that sort of rapport with them, and take the opportunity to find out, you know, are there other underlying issues going on, and can we signpost those people to support. The warm packs were, I think in the end, we had a budget of 25,000 in total. Health providers some funding, the district council did, and we also were successful with an external bid that we put through for £5,000. Those warm packs were oversubscribed within a matter of weeks. They'd gone out the door. There was, some of you will remember, there was a little bit of a cold snap. Put my teeth in when I do this. So there was a cold snap at the beginning of December, and we did see a real demand then. And I know, again, in the warm spaces, they did see an upsurge in people utilising those facilities. So again, part of the initiative of the warm pack was obviously to prevent the exacerbation of cold-related medical incidents. So we're trying to prevent a downstream cost and pressure on our NHS colleagues. So we have allocated 10,000 already towards warm packs. That's not going to be enough. Lynn's already utilised that money to start building up a stock, but I am mindful that we are going to need to try and secure some more money, and fairly quickly, to provide additional warm packs. Again, I'll pause at that point to see if there's anything that anybody wants to say, either again about warm spaces or warm packs. Jane, sorry, I hadn't seen you, Jane. I would have invited you to comment.
Morning, everyone. In terms of warm spaces, we have opened ours. So on a Monday and a Friday, we've opened the warm space from the beginning of the month. I'm not sure anybody's been in yet, but it hasn't been that cold yet. In terms of warm packs, like you say, Steve, we've had that funding from you. We have got 30 packs from that funding that are ready to go when we start taking referrals for them. Lynn has put a fund into the lottery for another 170 packs, but we're yet to receive the outcome of that. I think it's in November before we're going to know. So we might be okay if we get that. If not, we need to rethink quickly. So that's really where we're at.
Thanks, Jane. That's very helpful. So, Robert?
Yeah, it was. This isn't interfering or anything, but remember, I did mention in the summer if we can support with the distribution of those warm packs in any way, because obviously we already have a reliable network of volunteers that are going out 5 days a week delivering food parcels. It seems daft if we're crossing over and driving where you're driving. So I don't know what system you've got in place for distribution, but if we can help, we're happy to have a conversation and get involved if we can.
Thank you for that. That's great.
So an immediate action I will take from a district council point of view is to see whether we can, because I mean, fingers crossed for the lottery bid, but obviously, as you say, Jane, if we get to November and that's not successful, we know the demand will be there. So I will see if there's any further funding that we can at least help with further packs, and probably need to give my health colleagues a prod to see whether or not they've got any further funding that they could put into the mix.
That'd be really great, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Okay. Can't see any other hands on those issues. So the next agenda item is credit union. I know obviously the citizens, Chris is fully au fait with what's happening with the credit union, but I wasn't sure whether other colleagues were. So I just asked for this item to go on the agenda. So the Two Shires Credit Union was taken over earlier this year by a credit union based in Sheffield, albeit they do operate nationally, called Transave. And they undertook a review of Two Shires that has resulted in the office, which is co-located with Citizens Advice at top of Bridge Street, in that office being closed, and the staff have been either got a new job, or one of them, I believe, has actually got a job with Transave. I had a meeting with Transave last week to try and ascertain what the business model was going to be moving forward. They operate completely a digital service online. They don't have face-to-face. In fact, they told me that when they were doing the review, they were seeing on average, less than £300 a week coming in cash to the Two Shires. So, that was part of their review. Their experience elsewhere that it works well online.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, Steve, I've just interrupted.
Yeah, okay, Chris. So they had got feedback that they have contacted all the existing clients of Two Shires to explain what's happening. They've had positive feedback so far. They're a much bigger credit union. They're able to offer better savings rates, etc. I know there will be concern about the fact that they are not a face-to-face service, but I'm hoping, and they have promised me some comms, because I think one of the problems that Two Shires had, because it was a relatively small credit union, was actually having the capacity to be able to promote it. And as we know, credit unions in this country are not well understood by most people, as opposed to many European countries where credit unions have operated for a long time and are part of the sort of culture of those countries. I think a lot of people just really don't understand what credit unions are about, but they can be a very helpful way of people building up small savings, etc., and not using some of the payday loaners and things like that. So I'm waiting that publicity from Transave, which we will get out to all partners. Chris, you want to come in because I know you've had conversations with Transave yourself.
Yeah, thanks very much. Sorry, somebody's coming in. I'm trying to have two conversations at once. So apologies for that. We've had a brief conversation. We're quite limited in what support we can offer. We're FCA regulated as a debt advice provider, and one of the strict rules we have to abide by is not to recommend one financial provider over another. However, we're going to do what we can anyway. We've got a lot of people still coming into the front desk asking for them. So because it's digital only, we're doing what we can to set them up in our interview rooms with a phone and just dial through and get them connected. We've also got some phones and some computers. We've been helping people get on to see whether they can get online to manage their finances. But as I say, it is quite awkward in how we're regulating and what we're allowed to do, but we're still trying to do what we can. We do have some escalated numbers to TransUnion as well. So if there's any customers who come through who are really struggling digitally, we can try and use those to get the client support they need.
Thanks, Chris. So yes, as I say, we'll circulate that information, that publicity about how they're operating, contact details, etc., as soon as I receive it, to all the people on this call. Welcome, Lee.
Hi, Steve. Apologies, I was late joining. I've been on a call with Victoria that she didn't join, and then I've realised I'm actually working on next week's diary.
That's all right. I think you timed it well, because we just missed the bit when I was going to approach you about some funding, but I'll pick that up later with you.
Is this for warm packs, Steve?
It is. It is.
I think Lynn and I have a cunning plan.
Right.
Which we can take outside the meeting.
That's great.
It's that cunning I don't share it.
That's good. So the next agenda item is on communications, and this again was picked up on the summit that we had tried to work together closely a bit. I think all organisations, as we've mentioned right at the outset, the cost of living impacts on our organisations in a variety of different ways, and particularly the clients that we see, so it doesn't fit neatly into anybody's box. So communication, we're all learning, we're all finding things out, and there's communication. So these winter conversations are extremely helpful and valuable in that process. So thanks to the BCVS for continuing to support those. But there's also the advice and information to individuals and communities across Bassetlaw. So we had the incredibly successful cost of living booklet that was pinched by other parts of Nottinghamshire and elsewhere, that was widely circulated. And I think we got over 5,000 hard copies of those circulated across the district, and there were a similar number of downloads done. So the booklet has been revised. It's already out on the streets. I think the supplies are virtually already gone. There are bookmarks that have gone out, which are a handy reference point to the key support organisations. And I also have some temperature gauges ready to go. So I probably need to let have them at the Action Centre as well, to go with warm packs when we distribute them. We had 1,100 temperature gauges went out in one day in December. So we have got some more. So there's information again on the BCVS, so digital copies of that on the BCVS website. We may look at specific theme topics in terms of particular targeted comms going out. The Money Pension Service have the Money Week that takes place 6th to the 10th of November. Have got some information on that if anybody's interested in that, but really what they're encouraging people to do is have conversations, whether it's in the workplace with friends or with support agencies, about money issues and the importance of not trying to bottle things up, identifying early problems and seeking support. So there's a national campaign that's using the hashtag Talk Money, and that's about as far as I go with social media stuff. But we're, you know, as a district council, hopefully we will be promoting that. As I say, I have got an overview of their the money advice presentation on that. Also, the 18th of October is World Menopause Day, and they are running 2 sessions, webinars on that day, on money issues and the menopause. So they're at 11 o'clock and 3 p.m. If they're of particular interest to anyone, I can circulate those details. And then finally on comms, we were approached by the local government associations probably about a month ago now, who were seeking an area on behalf of BBC Radio 4, the File on 4 programme, who wanted to look at the cost of living and its impact on a local level. I did put Bassetlaw forward, that I know some of you are going to be eternally grateful to me for, and we were selected as the area that they wanted to look at. I haven't been interviewed, but a number of you have, and a number of you facilitated clients to talk to that programme. I think anybody who knows a File on 4 will know it's not a sensationalised sort of shock horror type approach. It's a very sensitive look at the issues. So I think that's one of the reasons we were happy to participate in it. I'd like to think it was the powers of my submission that had got them to come, but actually I think it was the Wilkinson's story that was the big hook for them to come into an area and look at what was going on. That programme, I have no idea what the final approach is going to be. As I say, I think it will be a sensitive one. It's actually now being broadcast a week today, 8 p.m. on Radio 4, if anybody's interested in listening to that. So I don't know if there's anything that anybody particularly wants to pick up on communications.
I think
If anybody hasn't got, sorry,
Go on,
Becky.
Becky, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, go on, Lee. Go on, Lee. You'd start to so finish.
I was just going to say, I'm sure that we'd be more than happy to support through the couple of days that we have with Rachel, Becky, and I don't know if that's what you was going to say, but perhaps joint approach to it.
Yeah, absolutely. The more joined up we are, the more connected it is through everybody's comms, the better it's going to work and the less resource it takes up. We're all busy, and resource is limited because finances are limited. The other thing I was going to say, Steve, was just about the temperature gauges and where you're getting them out to. I'm mindful that we've got the senior citizens event that the local MP is running a week on Friday. It might be useful to get some there. We've said we'll attend that, so we can always take them down there. And then there are the body MOT events that Katie Hainsworth has been running. I think the Harworth one's done, but there's still the Wirksp and the Retford ones to do as well. And if you want them distributing anywhere else, obviously, just let us know and we'll get them wherever we are. There are a couple of events as well coming up. In fact, there's one coming up on the 17th. Alzheimer's have got a new peer support session up at Kilton Forest that they're running, and that might be a space as well to get some into there. So just to get them out, that's all.
Yeah, if I can just come in on that, Steve, it was just to say what Becky's just said. I was supposed to pick a box up from Helen, so if anybody wants to grab me a box, I can take it to all these events. I'm also attending one at the Menopause at the Retford Hospice as well. So, you know, just throw me a box over here and I'll take them wherever we go.
When are you at Retford Hospice, Ange? And I'll be in the office so you can grab a box.
I think it's the 18th of October.
It's
Lee.
Another week away.
Yeah, could just be with them for if possible, for the event that we've got at the Skills Hub on Friday. So yeah, if you can, I can come and pick some up. I can just let me know where to come.
I'll be in Retford Hospital on Thursday. But if you want me to come over to you, I'm happy to find some time to try and come to you. And
Yeah, we'll drop a line and we'll sort it out, Lee. No
Okay.
problem. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Sorry, about the senior citizens event. I've been asked to go and do something with the fire service there, but unfortunately, what they've not told me is whereabouts. And I've asked them, but unfortunately, they don't seem to want to tell me where it is. So, can someone just give me a clue where it is, please?
I believe it's at the crossing, Simon, in Worksop.
Thank you, thank you. The MP's comms are not that good, shall we say? Thanks.
I see somebody in the chat was asking about getting temperature gauges.
Yeah, Steve, that's me. I'm just thinking for the lunch club we do up at Harworth Burcoats, it'd be a good place to hand them out. The average age is north of 65, 70-ish.
Right. Yeah, we'll get some to you, Robert.
Where
Sorry,
are they,
Angela?
Steve? Have you got a big stash of them, Steve? Are they up at QB?
Yeah, they're sort of providing a pillbox for me at Queen's Buildings.
Something to rest your head on while you have an afternoon.
Yeah, Steve, I was just going to say I do a dementia group here at Kilton Forest Golf Course on alternate Fridays, and the average age there is probably 55 and above, probably 65. So if you've got any spare, I'll more than happy to distribute them to everybody.
Maybe if you can get some down here, Steve, and then we'll put it out, and people, it's quite easy to pull up and park in front of us for free, and then nip in the same way that cost of living booklets have gone out. So we're happy to have a stock and push them out from here if that's helpful.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, I think that takes us on to the roundup. So I shall start with Chris. Is there anything that you want to sort of pick up from Citizens Advice?
Yeah, after we've been talking about homeless pods and other things, it might pale into insignificance a little bit, but there is a project we're running with National Trust at the moment, which is designed to help Wilko's workers, or those affected by the Wilko's redundancy, I should say. Just bear with me a sec, I'll bring up a Facebook post because it'd be easier. It's essentially offering a free half-term pass for Wilko staff and those affected by Wilko. And it will be free to use multiple times over the 21st to the 5th of November for a family. If anybody is interested and wants one of those free passes, just pick them up from our reception. It is, between us, it is quite short notice. National Trust contacted us, and we didn't want to ignore the opportunity in case any Wilko's workers were interested and it would help, but it's awfully short timing to actually make this worthwhile for people. So we'd really appreciate your help to get the word out. There's no catches, just need to turn up and you'll be given a free pass at our reception. We won't be asking for proof or anything. We will be doing it on a kind of honour system.
Cheers, Chris.
Steve, is there any network, like a Wilko's staff network or anything that was set up post-closure, post-redundancy that we could get that into?
I'm not sure if there's a formal network. I know there's quite an active Facebook page for former employees. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of interference coming through. So there is an active Facebook page that they have, but I will let our economic development team know, because they've been obviously contacting and dealing with those individuals and with DWP. Okay, if nothing else from Chris, Lee, is there anything that you would like to pick up from the health side?
Not at this time, Steve. When is the next meeting? The problem is we've had a couple of deferred meetings with the ICB that would be helpful to this group in terms of funding and initiatives. So possibly if we've got another meeting coming up in sort of a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I will have a better update. We're currently, so at the minute, so every year, NHS, you know, aware that winter pressures happen every year. They get until around October, November, then decide that you can put some funding bids in. We've submitted ours to the ICB ahead of that, expecting it to come, but it's been delayed. So at this time, I don't feel I've got a lot that I can concretely contribute. However, I feel it's pending.
Right.
Next meeting, Lee, is Thursday the 16th of November, 2:30 p.m.
Oh, I
So,
should definitely have an update by then. But Steve, I
Okay.
can pick up with you if there's anything early comes down.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lee. Okay. Robert, for anything from the food bank?
Only to say the pod link I put in the chat, and it is live on our website. If you go to the referral tab, there's an online referral form. Hopefully none of you'll have to use it, but if you want to go and have a look at details of what the pod actually is and does, Ellen's going to be going around some of the key agencies to the homeless team at BDC. I think I've offered to Chris at CAB and also CGL as well. So yeah, if you need any more information, hopefully I'll still have 20 of them left in March and we'll never need them. But they are they're available. It's one of those ones, I hate promoting it because it's just horrible, isn't it? But anyway, the link's there and it's live, so feel free to have a look.
Cheers, Robert. Becky, anything from BCVS?
Do you know, I'm very badly prepared, Steve. I've had a banging headache so this is day 6 now, so I'm I'm battling at the moment. I can't think of anything. Cost of living booklet we've covered off. The events that we're going to that I was going to talk about I've already flagged. I don't think there's anything immediately. If there's anything else, I'll add it into notes when I send the recording out.
Yeah, I've kept away from BCVS officers.
You do right. The boss is still off with COVID, so yeah, you do right.
I think, is Devon still on? Is there anything that you wanted to pick up, Devon, from the BCVS side as well? Take that as a no then.
I think she's
Right.
taking a call. I think she's sort of stayed on, but had to go onto the phone.
Yeah, that's no problem. Okay, Jane, Bachelor Action Centre.
Not much more of an update from me, Steve, really. We're really busy. COVID's hitting us too, staff and volunteers. So, you know, we're just battling with that really, trying to do what we can with the staff that's left. But hopefully it won't last too long. So no other update really.
Brilliant.
That probably is worth flagging that you know, the COVID issue again, that we are seeing an increase. We know there's an increase. It's on the rise in hospitals. It's impacting the discharge work and that we're seeing in the hospital through the social prescribing work, and that it's definitely impacting us in terms of a staffing perspective. And I'm not saying what we do or don't need to do about it. I just think we need to be mindful of it in thinking about our planning and our comms on what we do moving forward, being mindful of that. I'm sure Lee's got way more data than I could ever shake a stick at.
No, because we're not allowed to collect it, Becky. So this time around, we're not allowed to mention the new variant or anything because we're not to panic the public. So we're not actually collating it, the data. However, we do know that it's risen because I think we had the event last Wednesday at the bridge, and 1 in 4 tested positive for COVID the following day.
Yeah,
Maybe there's
including
something. Maybe there's something for us then. Just thinking about winter pressures around making sure that anybody we're working with who's eligible for vaccination, we encourage take up. It's really easy to book and to get people that are eligible and able to take vaccination. And predominantly, we know over 65s are able to pick that up. So I guess it's just a responsibility on everybody here to make sure that we promote where we can, because that will reduce the pressure on the respiratory issues in the wards.
And Lee, it's plenty of other stuff for us to panic about, so don't worry about getting rid of COVID. We'll be fine panicking about everything else.
It's a government decision, not mine.
right, moving on quickly. Right, who shall I pick on next? Simon, anything from a sort of fire and rescue perspective?
No, thank you very much. We continue to well, the only thing I'll say is that we do continue to work with the Basildore Council with the food parcels that we keep on stations for out of hours deliveries and things. So we're also in there as well. We'll be along with the dementia referrals at the Kilton Forest Golf Course, which is a brilliant idea, and also the senior citizens event. I think of anything else that I can get a crew to, just drop me a line and I'll get a crew out to it. Thanks all.
Brilliant. Thanks for your support, Simon. So just having mentioned the dementia thing, I'll just hand Ange, is there anything you want to pick up on?
Just I'll contact Lee and Becky regarding picking up some of these cost of livings and your thermometers. And just to say that I am part of the body MOTs. If anybody has got information you'd like me to take literature wise on any of these events, I'm happy to take it with all my stuff and put it on a table to highlight the stuff. And just to let you know that Kilton is still going to continue to be a warm space as well, Steve.
Brilliant, thanks, Ange.
Steve, do you want me to have some thermometers at our office, and then there's a workshop on a Retford base for collection?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Lee will sort that out.
Because I can arrange to be at Retford any given day that anyone wants to be there, and then obviously at Queen's Buildings there's always someone there, isn't there?
Yeah. Thanks, Lee. Richard, how's things at
Steve,
Retford?
hello, colleagues. Just a couple of points to say that we run a couple of lunches on a Monday and a Wednesday, and I would say we have 30 to 40, mostly very mature people, certainly over 65, and a lot of outside organisations hire our premises and provide services for the elderly. So please do, if you have any publicity, I think we're probably a very good way of reaching quite a few people who might benefit from the services, especially for the elderly. So please do bear us in mind. We're happy to display posters and give out literature. And secondly, just to say that our CAP centre, our debt centre really is working to full capacity, which sort of bears out what our colleagues have already shared about the debt pressures. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Richard. Hand over to Steve from Oasis.
Hi everyone. We've got probably about eight warm space type projects that will go through the winter in 3 locations. So those are going. Our food box project is busier than ever. We tend to give when the food bank can't do that anymore, or people that aren't eligible for the food bank but are still in need, right across the board. So we're giving right across Bassetlaw. That's bigger than ever, so we're giving more boxes and toiletries. At the moment we've got a shipment of coffee, a whole pallet full of Kenco coffee if anyone would like a share of that, just contact me. And also huge sacks of dog food as well. We had a couple of pallets of that too. So that does help people who are in crisis, and their pet is their best friend sometimes, that have had with them for a long time. So that is important, and we can actually do something about that, and probably more going forward. That seems to be an endless source as well. So that's available as well. And our Edge project is really getting much more busy. Lots of new projects will be taking place as our cabins are opening. All that work's finished now. So there'll be skills-based projects going through the winter as well, which again are places for people to come together, but also they get advice and help and support practically as well. So yeah, lots going on. A bit too busy, I think. But anyway, we're here if anyone needs our help.
Thank you, Steve. That's very useful, and I know you provide an excellent support service across the piece. So thank you for what you do. Right, I see Steph's on the call. Steph, I know obviously your involvement with the Food and Security Network is finished, but I didn't know if there was anything that you wanted to pick up on.
No, not in regards to food and security. In community grants, I can update if that's of any use on numbers that we've had currently come through.
That'd be helpful.
Thank you, Steve. So yes, I've been leaning on the community grants programme, and we've just closed the first window on Friday, the 6th of October. We had a total of 13 successful stage 2 applications, so they will be going through to grant panel for assessment now. So they've been sent out today. But for those of you that would like wider context around the community grants applications, there will be another grant window which will open on Monday let me make sure I get the right date here. Monday the 20th of November, so we brought it slightly forward, and that is around the main focus is on the intervention of communities in place. So it is about volunteering, it's supporting people's well-being, so it's supporting residents who are socially isolated, those who are struggling with their mental health, to engage in wider volunteering roles and opportunities, and organisations seeking to break down those barriers to promote pride in place, so residents to become socially integrated into communities and support of their well-being. So grant applications can be between 3 to 15,000, although in exceptional circumstances can go up to 25,000, and all are assessed by a external trained grant panel. So it is about giving that voice back to Basset Law residents, and they will make the decision on where that money goes. So as I say, 14 applications have gone ahead to grant panel, and they will be assessed on the 19th and 20th of this month. And I can further update in the next meeting how that money's been disseminated out for that first window.
Brilliant. Thank you, Steph. I've got Andrea's got her hand up.
Thanks, Steve. I joined late. Apologies. It's my first day back, as Becky says, after having the vid, day 6. So I've just come in out of the BFIN meeting, so I won't share all the details, lots discussed, but headline issues around the ongoing increasing need to diversify and grow the supply chain, including beginnings of discussions which we need to pick up around collective purchasing. So I'll reach out to partners around that. And excuse me, and we'll be coming together as BFIN face to face to progress some working groups around taking forward those actions under the themes that we're working to. So that's just headlines from us. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Persevering, given your situation. Hope you feel better soon. Robert did have his hand up, but that's now seems to have gone down. I'm mindful of the time, so what I'm going to do is, rather than just go around and pick out the remaining people, I'll just ask if there is anyone that we haven't highlighted so far. If there's anybody who wants to provide an update. Doesn't look like it. I'm just going to hand back to Becky just to finish things off. And as was mentioned, details of the next meeting, etc. But again, can I thank everyone for your input today? That I do find these meetings extremely helpful and just a bit of networking. But again, please, if there are issues that you see, or because you're very much, many of you are sort of frontline organisations, so you're likely to see issues manifesting themselves way before we do in the council, etc. So that intelligence from the front line is extremely helpful in terms of what is happening. If there's anything that we need in terms of further comms, etc., please let us know and don't wait for the meetings. You've got my contact details, you've got Becky's contact details. But Becky, I'll hand back to you just to finish things off.
Thanks very much, Stephen. Thanks for chairing today. So yeah, we got AOB, but we've I think we've probably gone around and covered that. So unless anybody else has got a burning topic to raise, I will draw the meeting to a close. Our next meeting is Thursday, the 16th of November at 2:30. I'll get those invites sent out this afternoon, and I get I'll either, well, I think what I'll try and do is get this recording set up on our website somewhere. I have a feeling we've got a page. We've got a page for most things. I'm sure we've got a page for it, and then I'll send the link out to you. Either that, I'll send the recording link in its entirety. So if anybody ahead of that, if anybody's got any information that they would like me to share out to the group, if you can get that to me by the end of this week, then I'll add that into that email as well. So that's it. Thank you very much, folks. Thanks for all your time this morning and your contributions. It's been really useful from my perspective, so thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Steve, do you want me to stay on to talk about the funding?
Yes, that'll be helpful.
I don't know if you can without me.
Oh, because of the recording.
It's my link. Oh, I need to stop recording as well. That's a very good point. Yeah,
Yes,
you might
please,
have to.
please do, because it's very sketchy what I'm going to be saying.
Okay.